You picked up the Tesseract, breaking reality. I want you to help us fix it.
Not my forte.
Pretend your life depends on it. I'm gonna get a snack.
This Wednesday,
I am the god of mischief. It is adorable that you think you could manipulate me. I was just standing up to make a point.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It won't be as meaningful now.
Okay, well, stay seated.
I'll do what I want to do.
I'm Agent Mobius, by the way.
How long have you been here?
I don't know, it's hard to say. You know, time passes differently here in the TVA.
What does that mean?
You'll catch up.
And this is the first time for me in the Marvel universe. They first spoke to me about Iron Man and Captain America and even Hulk. I was like, well, you know, I don't know. I'm just kidding.
I need your unique Loki perspective.
Tom would take us through the world and the different movies.
It was amazing because he just had all this information in his head.
We called them the Loki lectures. I ended up just sort of writing down some of the stuff he said, and I think that even worked its way sometimes into dialogue.
Owen's full of enthusiasm and passion and excitement.
I really like the whole look, the sets and the costumes. You know, let that do the heavy lifting.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my Loki Episode 2 trailer video. We're burdened with glorious footage, so if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I will be doing videos for all the episodes this season. We're doing a Disney Plus giveaway for memberships. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and just leave your favorite Easter egg so far in the comments. But careful for spoilers for everything that happened during Episode 1 if you have not seen the episode yet. But the events of Episode 2 pick up just after this moment where Owen Wilson's Mobius has offered this variant Loki, 1130, a job working for the TVA because not only do they need his help, because who better to catch a Loki than another Loki, but also because he senses that this Loki is capable of being a good person. That was why he was grilling him so hard, asking him if he enjoyed hurting people. He was trying to get him to admit that he didn't like hurting people, which he did by the end of the episode when he broke. So Mobius is just banking that he can do the same thing that Loki 616 did, redeeming himself, becoming a good character eventually. And as they explained, also kind of wrapped up in this is the idea that technically he cannot go back to where he came from during the events of Avengers Endgame in 2012. So his only other option here is to be erased from the timeline. Essentially, it's work for them or die. Not much of a choice there. The reason why he can't go back, if it wasn't clear, is because of how he exists as a variant right now in this moment. If they were to reset things with one of their devices, the time reset devices, back in Avengers Endgame before he steals the Tesseract, resetting the timeline to what it should have been, essentially this version of Loki would be erased. In the original Loki, 616 Loki would just continue on his normal timeline. That was a real cool 616 Easter egg, but a lot of you also asked the question, you know, MCU technically is supposed to exist in a separate universe, the Earth 1999999. The 616 Marvel Universe is the main universe of the comics, so when they started making the movies, like during the first Iron Man movie, because they changed the plot of his origin story so much, and all the movies changed the plots of their stories so much, they just decided to say that all this Infinity Saga stuff is happening in an alternate universe. But what they meant by Loki 616 was that he was the main Loki. So if it feels like a continuity error, even though it kind of is, you do understand now what they meant to say. Like he was the main Loki in the MCU, this is now a different Loki. If they reset everything with the time reset device, he would never have come into existence. That happened the second he portaled away with the Time Stone, creating a Nexus event per their big explainer, that big animated movie on the history of the TVA and the Timekeepers. So that's why when he hit rock bottom in Episode 1, he admits, I simply can't go back, can I? The red line that they keep referring to at the different crime scenes in the episode is when things approach a Nexus event. Once you go past the red line, a Nexus event happens and a fully alternate reality is born. It's the whole reason why the Timekeepers created the TVA, to prevent these Nexus events. I did mention in my Episode 1 video, during that big sequence, that this Timekeeper's face kind of looked like Kang the Conqueror's face, or one of his faces. He has many different faces that he wears across the timeline. I will talk more about Kang in a new video this week because there's all these sinister overtones to what the Timekeepers are doing, forcing all of reality in the multiverse into this single sacred timeline, deciding for everyone in existence what is sacred and what is not sacred. We'll learn more about that. We'll get more clues as Loki goes around in the different missions, chasing down these alternate Lokis of himself, Blade Runner style. But there's a ton more footage from Episode 2 in these trailers, so you see Mobius and Loki sit down for another Joss de Soda, that old Pepsi energy drink that went out of circulation a long time ago. He's still kind of giving Loki the business, like he gives him the TVA jacket, labeling him as a variant. I wonder if they'll be selling those as merch too. But also, while he continues to explain more about the Time Variance Authority and what they do, and what Mobius himself is doing, chasing down this very dangerous version of Loki that's going around killing all their Minutemen, he's also still taking Loki to task on all his mischief. You have that funny scene where Loki's like, I have never done anything wrong ever in my life. What are you talking about? And there's another callback to Lady Loki, or the person that we think that they're chasing down, Lady Loki, when Owen Wilson says he's watched Loki literally stab people in the back, betraying them 50 times. Like at the beginning of episode 1 when they're investigating that crime scene in ancient France, the very same hunter who winds up getting killed later in the episode by Lady Loki in Oklahoma says the bodies of the Minutemen have stab wounds all over them consistent with the other recent killings. That was meant to foreshadow the reveal that it was another Loki that they were going after, because daggers are Loki's trademark weapon. There's also that footage of him during episode 2 where Owen Wilson is handing him his daggers, like, don't I get a weapon? And he hands him the daggers, like, oh, this is so awesome. Before that new main hunter, Hunter B-15, takes them away and is like, hell no, you don't get a weapon. But then he takes them on the larger tour of the TVA and their archives while doing this big exposition info dump. That's just a classic detective walk and talk, which you see in a lot of movies, where they just film exposition scenes in dynamic ways. So there's all these mysteries that they've just barely scratched the surface of, and he's walking around explaining this, and you have this stuff going on in the background while they're talking about the case. I would be willing to bet that we don't even scratch the surface of the TVA during season 1. Like, we know there's a season 2 coming, they've already confirmed it, even though they haven't said what the story's going to be. But it's just like Gallifrey or the Citadel of Ricks and Rick and Morty. There's just so many stories that you could tell inside this space. It's just set up as this really complex, really interesting area that you've never seen before in the MCU. But if you haven't seen her, this is Sophia DiMartino. This is the actress that's playing Lady Loki. She was at the London premiere with Tom Hiddleston. That's the reason why they're bumping each other like this, because technically there is only one person in this photo. Once we get some more footage with her in episodes, in like the next couple of episodes, I will do a larger Lady Loki video, but they've only just barely begun to tease the character on the series. Then you see Mobius taking Loki on a few tutorial missions, showing him how they use their technology to time travel around to these different nexus points or to prevent nexus points from happening, different crime scenes. He takes him to the events of Pompeii when the volcano's in the middle of exploding, all the villagers running around in panic as Loki just dances through the streets like, all these people are gonna die in a second, so what does it matter? Then he takes him to a Ren fair. We've talked about how King the Conqueror is going to be the main villain of Ant-Man 3 Quantumania, being played by Jonathan Majors. He's a great actor, so I can't wait to see what he does with the character. But obviously they're getting more into the quantum realm during that, just because they teased it during Ant-Man and the Wasp. Then the Avengers just used quantum energy in the quantum realm to time travel in Avengers Endgame, so a lot of you have noticed how the TVA's time portals and some of their technology looks like they're using quantum energy, with more sophisticated technology than the Avengers had. I did see a few questions about all this in the comments on my episode 1 video, specifically about the timeline of the Timekeepers here. The reason why they're so advanced, and the reason why they say that their version of Secret Wars, for instance, this multiverse war, happened in the past, is because the Timekeepers themselves didn't come into existence until the end of time, as you normally think of it, the heat death of this version of the multiverse. In this place, the Timekeeper Citadel was created after they forged the sacred timeline. That's why they created the Time Variance Authority for. So for them, this big Secret Wars cataclysmic multiverse event happened in the distant past. And when they plucked this Loki out of time and brought him here, this is inside a pocket dimension outside of the normal flow of space-time, but technically, for all the people that work here, it's the very distant future. And for the main Avengers, who are still alive in present day, it hasn't happened yet, because they're all still living in 2023, 2024. I think it was just people weren't totally clear on what point in the timeline this Citadel is at. Theoretically, it's in the distant future, even though it's kind of outside of space-time, so it doesn't exist inside the normal timeline the way you think about it. As they continue to jump around in the timeline to different points, I'll talk about the overall timeline, because it will get crazy during the Loki series, but there's also a lot of footage in here from the other future episodes beyond episode 2. Like, you can see Loki, and it seems like he's hot on Lady Loki's trail. You see him all pissed off inside this Roxxon version of Walmart called Roxcart, and it seems like he's chasing her through one of these TVA portals. Remember, the whole idea is that she's been trapping TVA agents, hunting the hunters, so to speak, and stealing their time travel technology, like the reset devices. But it seems like she also has some of their portal technology, allowing her to travel anywhere in the multiverse and anywhere in the timeline she wants. That's how she was able to get the technology from the year 3000 and put it back in the 1800s in Oklahoma. Then you see Loki cozying up to either his new desk in a cubicle or it's Mobius's desk that he referenced in episode 1. Like Loki talks about burning down the TV. I'm going to burn this place to the ground. And he says, good, I'll show you to my desk. You can start there. That could also be a clue that Mobius senses something isn't quite right with the TVA itself if he's willing to joke so much about burning this place to the ground as well. You also look at the file that they zoom in on during this trailer too. This describes the events of the first Thor movie. You could probably pick out some of this text. It talks about Loki messing with Thor's coronation at the beginning of the movie, allowing the frost giants to enter Asgard, then the rest of the plot like luring Laufey, his true father, to Asgard under the pretense that he could kill Odin, but then double-crossing him, killing his father in the process. Then it mentions how Thor had to destroy the Bifrost to save Jotunheim from total destruction. And then, obviously, this scene is of him revisiting the events of the first Avengers movie again. You notice the mirror on the wall here is the exact same mirror next to the elevator from the beginning of episode 1, when they do that big flashback scene to the events of Endgame. So a lot of the episodes will be them revisiting familiar moments from previous Marvel movies, from previous Thor movies. But right now it's still not totally clear why Lady Loki is stealing all these time reset devices, or if she wants to use them as part of a larger attack on the TVA itself, or if it's more about her preventing them from closing down the new branch timelines, the new nexus points that she's creating. Like, does she want to create another multiverse Secret Wars level conflict? But when Kevin Feige and the writers said that the Loki series is one of the most important new Disney Plus series and will have bigger consequences for the future of the MCU than some of the other new series, it's about them messing with the timeline in the multiverse. Because it's pretty clear from all the Easter eggs so far just in the first episode, remember, we've only had one episode so far, that they intend on building up to a new Avengers Secret Wars multiverse movie after Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. No idea when that would happen. They're just laying some track work here. It's like you see Thanos at the end of the first Avengers movie. Like, when is Thanos going to finally assemble the Infinity Gauntlet? Well, it took 10 years for that to happen. But part of what they're teasing with this big multiverse war is also kind of meant to be a teaser for Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. That movie is kind of a smaller Avengers movie in that multiple Avengers will appear in it, and Kevin Feige already confirmed that alternate versions of Avengers from other universes would appear in it. He didn't say which one, so you can theory craft about that. But think of that as sort of a prequel, like an appetizer for a full-blown Secret Wars movie down the road. Even though Doctor Strange 2 sounds like it is going to be insane. But the whole idea of them teasing this big multiverse war is that by the time they're ready to do it in the Avengers movies, is that we'll have a lot of X-Men characters by that time, Fantastic Four, the new supernatural-based characters like Blade in the MCU. So that's how you explain bringing back a version of Robert Downey Jr. as alternate universe Iron Man that didn't die, a version of Hugh Jackman coming back as Old Man Logan Wolverine from the Fox movies. Like, if you thought Avengers Endgame had a lot of fan service in it, just you wait for Secret Wars. I will do a separate, bigger Secret Wars video later this week. I was already going to do a Kang the Conqueror video, so I might just do those as a single giant video, because the Loki series was teasing Kang the Conqueror using Secret Wars. So it's kind of like they're implying that he plays a huge role in that multiversal war. It does make sense. Some of those Easter eggs sounded similar to the events of Kang War as well, which is a more recent story. Kang War was kind of like a time travel-based version of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, where you have multiple versions of Kang teaming up from across his timeline to fight the new Avengers team, which coincidentally featured some of the new characters that they've introduced so far, like the new version of Falcon Captain America. But as you can see, the Loki series, just part of the story is them going around after these variant Lokis. The real overarching story is the story of this other alternate Loki, like Lady Loki, we believe it is. I know there are a lot of people wondering if there's going to be some dark twist with Mobius's character too, but I think the idea is that he's one of the good guys inside this really shady organization of the TVA, and in solving the mystery of Lady Loki and what she's doing, Mobius and Loki together will also uncover larger problems inside the TVA itself. In other early theory, I think that'll play into the idea of them seeding Kang the Conqueror into the background of the MCU before we see him full-blown show up on screen in Ant-Man 3. But everybody post all your theories in the comments below. My full episode 2 video will post next Wednesday, just like normal. Congratulations, Bob Jens, you're the giveaway winner from my last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone click here for my full Loki episode 1 video, and click here for my Thor 4 Love and Thunder first look teaser video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.